$280 billion. That's what South Korea spent trying to get its people to have children. The result? A fertility rate of 0.72, the lowest ever recorded for any country in all of human history. Every dollar made it worse, and the reason why will force you to rethink everything you thought you understood about how modern economies actually work. But before we get to that, you need to understand what Korea actually tried, because the list is extraordinary. If you want to understand what's actually driving this, not the headlines, but the hidden mechanism, stay with this one. First came the baby bonuses, a cash payment over $2,000 for every child born. Seoul later raised it to the equivalent of $75,000 for a third child. Logical. Immediate. Completely ignored. Then government-sponsored dating events. Bureaucrats arranging meetings between singles. Thousands of events, tens of thousands of participants. The marriage rate kept falling. Free childcare, expanded to all households. Tax breaks for families. Subsidized housing for parents with multiple children. Each policy was rational. Each policy was implemented in full. And the birth rate continued its descent every single year. By 2023, the total spend since the mid-2000s crossed $280 billion. Not $280 million, $280 billion. That is more than the GDP of entire nations. And the birth rate is still falling. Here's what the money couldn't see. The baby bonus was $2,000. The cost to raise a child in South Korea to adulthood, approximately $250,000. That's not a subsidy. That's an insult dressed as a policy. South Korea has the longest average working hours in the entire OECD. 12-hour days are standard. A woman who takes maternity leave faces a 30% career penalty, documented, measurable, structural. The workplace was not built for parents. It was built for workers with no other obligations. Then there is the housing system. Korea's unique hyonsei, a lump sum deposit system requiring $200,000 or more just to secure a rental. Not a mortgage, not a down payment toward ownership. Simply the right to rent for 2 years before the cycle starts again. And beneath the economics, a harder truth. Korean women carry 4 times the domestic labor of Korean men, even when both work full-time. The rational calculation is not complicated. Having children means financial ruin and personal erasure. The birth rate is a decision, not a failure. We're getting close to the answer to the question that opened this. But first, Korea is not alone. Japan already lived this story, and what Japan found there is genuinely alarming. Japan has 1,200 villages where 90% or more of the population has already disappeared. Not slowly declining. Gone. There are 9 million abandoned homes across Japan called Akiya empty shells where families used to be. Schools built for 200 children now teach 12. Gymnasiums converted to elder care wards. The infrastructure of a young country repurposed for a dying one. Japan loses 500,000 people per year. Every year, an entire mid-sized city simply gone. And Japan tried everything Korea tried. Paternity leave policies, workplace reform, cash incentives. Its fertility rate is 1.2 and still descending. This is Korea's future if nothing changes. But here's the real question no government wants to answer. If 2 of the world's most advanced economies, both with massive resources and genuine political will, both failed completely, what does that actually tell us? The answer starts in China, and it's darker than you expect. In 2015, China reversed its one-child policy. The government expected a baby boom. Instead, births fell 17% over the following decade. The one-child policy did not just limit births, it rewired culture. An entire generation grew up as the sole focus of family wealth, attention, and expectation. The Little Emperor generation. They raised their own expectations to match and discovered that a second child would mean splitting everything: the attention, the resources, the inheritance, the apartment. China now offers roughly $516 per year for each child under 3, against a real cost exceeding $100,000. And when the government runs incentive campaigns, a documented backlash emerges. The programs remind people of the intrusive one-child era. The intervention itself deepens the resistance. January 2026. China recorded 7.9 million births in 2025, the lowest number since the founding of the People's Republic, the fourth consecutive year of population decline. Everything we've covered in Korea, Japan, and China is pointing toward the same conclusion. The mechanism is almost visible now. This next part is the one most analysts miss entirely. If you're finding this useful, the subscribe button takes 2 seconds. What's coming next is the part most analysts completely miss. Here is what $280 billion couldn't buy: a change in the fundamental economic logic of children. In agricultural economies, children are assets, free labor, retirement insurance. More children means more land worked, more food grown, more security in old age. You are economically irrational if you do not have many children. In modern economies, that equation inverts completely. A child costs $250,000 and derails a career. Every additional child is an additional economic liability. The rational decision, the cold, calculating, modern rational decision, is to have 0 or 1. The data across 42 countries confirms this. 42 countries are now shrinking. Every single one of them is a developed economy. Not one is a low-income agrarian state. The pattern is not random. It is the consequence of a specific type of success. No government has ever permanently reversed population decline through policy. Not one. Because this is not a policy failure, it is the inevitable arithmetic of modernization. To fix it, you would have to make your country economically less modern, reduce wages, eliminate career opportunity, make children financially rational again. No government in human history has been able to sell that. So here is the answer to what I asked at the start. $280 billion didn't fail because Korean policymakers were incompetent. It failed because the problem they were trying to solve is not a problem governments can solve. It is the price tag of the civilization they built. Every country that achieves sustained economic development follows the same curve. As productivity rises, children become liabilities. As women gain education and opportunity, the cost of motherhood rises. As cities concentrate housing, family formation becomes economically prohibitive. By 2050, the ratio of working-age Koreans to retirees will be 2 to 1. The pension system will require levels of taxation that will further suppress family formation. The mechanism feeds itself. Korea won. And in winning, it solved the question of its own survival in the wrong direction. If this changed how you see the population crisis, hit that like button and subscribe for more hidden mechanisms behind the headlines. Next time, the country's spending 65% of its budget just paying off debt, and why the last lifeline just collapsed? Drop your thoughts below.